Almost a month after Nancy Guthrie went missing, investigators still combing through surveillance footage from the area around her house. Yesterday, this new Ring camera video emerging, obtained by Fox News Digital, showing a car driving down a street around 2:30 a.m. the night Nancy was taken.
That no one's coming forward for this $1 million when they can get it. It's if you can get it in cash, it's tax free because there's how they got to find out who you are.
Right.
That tells me it wasn't a kidnapping, that it was a murder.
Stop. Before you believe anything you've heard about that Kia Soul, you need to hear this, because what I'm about to say, it could mean the FBI chased the wrong target, while the Rayall killer stood right in front of them. Let that sink in. For weeks, that white Kia Soul was treated like the smoking gun. News channels replayed the footage like it was undeniable proof. This is the vehicle, they said. This is our break. Social media went insane. People were pointing fingers, accusing neighbors, reporting strangers. But behind closed doors, according to a leaked internal conversation, one agent allegedly said, "We might be building this entire case around the wrong car." Silence. No press conference. No correction. Just silence. And here's where it gets terrifying. What if the Kia Soul was a mistake? What if it was planted in the narrative on purpose? What if someone wanted investigators, and you looking at that car while something much darker was being buried? Because sources now claim there was another vehicle on that street that night. A vehicle that was never mentioned publicly. Why? Who decided the Kia Soul was a headline? And who benefited from that distraction? You think this is just about a car? No. This might be about the biggest investigative misdirection in years. And once you hear what was allegedly ignored, you're going to question everything. Before the Kia Soul became the most infamous vehicle in the country, there were people, real people, powerful people, and a history nobody wanted to talk about. At the center of this storm is Special Agent Daniel Mercer, the FBI's golden investigator. The media once called him the closer. High-profile cases, television interviews, standing behind podiums with that calm, confident tone. "We will find the person responsible," he would always say. But what most people don't know, Mercer was under pressure long before the Kia Soul ever entered the picture. Just 6 months earlier, he was quietly criticized internally after another case fell apart due to rushed conclusions. No public scandal, no headlines, just whispers inside the bureau that he had become obsessed with speed over precision. And then this case happened. A brutal, high-profile murder that shook the entire community. Cameras everywhere. Public panic rising. Politicians demanding answers. The pressure was unbearable. And that's when the white Kia Soul appeared. The footage was grainy. The timestamp slightly blurred. But it was enough. Enhanced that Mercer allegedly ordered during the first review meeting. One junior analyst reportedly hesitated. "Sir, the angle is unclear. We can't confirm the make." But Mercer pushed. "We don't have the luxury of waiting." That moment, according to insiders, changed everything. But Mercer isn't the only name in this story. There's also Detective Alina Reyes, the local investigator who had been working the case from day one. She knew the neighborhood. She knew the timeline. And she wasn't convinced the car was as important as the FBI suddenly made it seem. In fact, according to a leaked email she wrote, "We're locking onto this vehicle too quickly. There are inconsistencies in the traffic cam sequence." That email was never made public. Instead, the narrative grew louder. White Kia Soul, white Kia Soul, white Kia Soul. The media repeated it so often it became fact. But here's the part nobody saw coming. Daniel Mercer and Alina Reyes had history. 3 years ago, they worked together on a case that ended in disaster. A suspect was publicly named, only to be cleared weeks later. The lawsuit that followed cost the department millions. Mercer blamed local law enforcement for poor groundwork. Reyes blamed the FBI for grandstanding. They hadn't spoken since. Until now, when this new case exploded, Mercer was brought in as a federal lead. Reyes was already on it. 2 strong personalities, 2 massive egos, and a ticking clock. Was it inevitable that something would go wrong? Because while the public saw unity at press conferences, matching statements, synchronized timelines, insiders say the tension behind the scenes was volcanic. Reyes allegedly argued that there was another vehicle spotted on a separate camera angled 10 minutes before the crime. A darker SUV, partial plate visible. She wanted to pursue it. Mercer allegedly dismissed it. "We don't have time to chase ghosts," he reportedly said. But what if that SUV wasn't a ghost? What if it was a real lead? And then there's a political layer, because yes, it gets deeper. The mayor's office was involved almost immediately. This case was damaging the city's reputation. Businesses were losing customers. Parents were panicking. Elections were months away. The public needed reassurance. They needed a direction. They needed a suspect. And suddenly, the Kia Soul became that direction. Conveniently specific, conveniently visible, conveniently dramatic. Social media detectives did the rest. TikTok breakdowns, Reddit threads, YouTube theories. Every white Kia owner within a 50-mile radius became a potential villain. But behind closed doors, according to one anonymous source inside the bureau, once the car became public, there was no turning back, even if doubts started forming. No turning back. Think about that. What happens when pride, politics, media pressure, and personal rivalry collide inside an active murder investigation? You get tunnel vision, you get desperation, and sometimes you get the wrong target. And here's the darkest part of all. While the country obsessed over that Kia Soul, the real killer, if the theory is true, wasn't panicking. They were watching investigators chase headlights and shadows, watching Mercer double down during press briefings, watching Reyes slowly get sidelined, watching the narrative grow louder. Because if you wanted to disappear in plain sight, wouldn't you want everyone focused on the wrong car? And if this wasn't just a mistake, if this was ego, if this was rivalry, if this was pressure, then what we're looking at isn't just investigative failure. It's something much worse. And the first crack in that narrative, it came from a piece of footage that was never meant to be seen. It was 2:17 a.m. when everything exploded. Not on television, not in a press conference, but inside a locked FBI conference room lit by nothing but fluorescent lights and tension, so thick it felt suffocating. According to a leaked internal source, that's when Detective Alina Reyes finally snapped. The room was filled with screens, paused footage of the white Kia Soul looping again and again, analysts whispering, agents nodding, Daniel Mercer standing at the head of the table like the case was already solved. And then Reyes dropped the file onto the table. "Play camera 14, she reportedly said. Silence. One analyst hesitated. Mercer's jaw tightened. "Camera 14 isn't relevant," Mercer responded calmly. Reyes didn't blink. "It's relevant if we actually care about catching the right person." That's when the footage rolled. A dark SUV. 10 minutes before the crime. Slowing down. Headlights flickering, as if signaling someone. The vehicle lingered longer than the Kia Soul ever did. And then it drove away. The room went quiet. One junior agent allegedly whispered, "Why wasn't this in the public release?" That question changed the atmosphere instantly. Mercer's response? "We focus on the strongest lead." But Reyes wasn't backing down. "This isn't about the strongest lead," she fired back. "This is about the loudest one." The argument escalated. Voices raised. Analysts frozen in place. One source claims Mercer slammed his hand on the table and said, "We don't confuse the public with half-baked theories." Half-baked? The SUV had a partial plate, a clearer timestamp, a more consistent timeline. Yet, somehow, it never made it to the press. And here's where the betrayal begins. Because less than 24 hours after that confrontation, Reyes was quietly removed from active field duty. Official reason? Procedural restructuring. Unofficial reason? She challenged the narrative. Social media didn't know any of this. Not yet. The public was still obsessed with the Kia Soul. Hashtags were trending. Influencers were posting breakdowns. One viral tweet read, "If you drive a white Kia Soul and live in that city, you better lawyer up." Another post with 2 million views said, "The FBI doesn't miss. They know exactly what they're doing." But do they? Because 3 days after Reyes was sidelined, an anonymous Reddit account dropped something chilling. A screenshot, an internal message allegedly sent from an FBI analyst to a colleague. We're being told to deprioritize the SUV angle. Orders from upstairs. The internet went feral. Hashtag SUVgate began trending. People started asking questions. Why wasn't the dark SUV mentioned publicly? Why did the Kia Soul narrative move so fast? Why was Reyes suddenly silent? Then came the leak that no one saw coming. A voicemail, distorted audio, background static. But the voice sounded like Mercer. We can't afford another embarrassment. Lock the narrative before it spirals. Embarrassment? Was this about solving a murder or protecting reputations? News outlets picked it up cautiously. Unverified audio surfaces, they said, but the damage was done. Comment sections exploded. Cover up. Ego. They're protecting someone. And then, just when it seemed like Mercer couldn't be under more pressure, something worse surfaced. The registered owner of the white Kia Soul came forward. A 62-year-old schoolteacher named Linda Carver. She went live on Facebook, shaking furious, on the verge of tears. I was home that night, she said. My car hasn't left my driveway in weeks. And now my neighbors look at me like I'm a monster. She showed security footage from her own home, time-stamped, her Kia Soul parked, motionless, all night. If her footage was accurate, then whose Kia Soul was captured on that street? Because here's the twist that hit like a thunderclap. There were 2 white Kia Souls registered within a 3-mile radius. 2. One belonged to Linda. The other, registered under a Shell LLC formed just 4 months ago. No clear owner. No public records. Address linked to an abandoned office space. And that second Kia Soul? It hasn't been located. Suddenly, this wasn't just about misidentification. It was about something deliberate. Why highlight the most traceable Kia Soul in the area, while ignoring the one that leads nowhere? Was incompetence or intentional misdirection? And as investigators scrambled to contain the fallout, another bomb dropped late that night. Camera 14 footage. The SUV clip Reyes fought for was quietly removed from the internal shared server. Deleted. No explanation. No archive trail. Gone. So now ask yourself this. If the Kia Soul was shaky, if the SUV was ignored, if the internal footage vanished, if the lead detective was sidelined, then what exactly were they protecting? Because the scariest part isn't that the FBI might have made a mistake. It's that someone inside the investigation may have wanted that mistake to happen. And just when you think it can't get darker, a new name is about to enter this story. A name that connects the SUV, the shell company, and someone very, very close to Agent Mercer. Just when the public thought the story couldn't spiral any further, it detonated. Because that Shell LLC linked to the second white Kia Soul, it wasn't random. It wasn't foreign. It wasn't some mysterious criminal network hiding offshore. It was registered by a law firm. And not just any law firm. The same law firm that represented Daniel Mercer during the lawsuit 3 years ago. The case he lost with Detective Reyes. Let that sink in. Within minutes of that detail leaking online, social media went nuclear. A Twitter thread from a verified investigative blogger exploded past 4 million views in hours. So the second Kia Soul is owned by an LLC tied to Mercer's old legal team. And we're supposed to believe this is coincidence? Another viral post read, either this is the worst coincidence in FBI history, or someone is playing chess while the public plays checkers. Cable news couldn't ignore it anymore. One anchor said live on air, "Tonight, serious questions are emerging about potential conflict of interest in the Kia Soul investigation." Conflict of interest? That phrase alone was gasoline on a wildfire. Then came the celebrity reactions. A famous true crime podcaster tweeted, "If this connection is real, the investigation needs an independent review. Period." A Grammy-winning singer posted to her 20 million followers, "Justice isn't about ego. It's about truth. Don't let distractions win." Even actors who normally stay out of controversy started commenting. The hashtag Kia cover-up hit #1 worldwide. But here's where the narrative flips completely. An anonymous source from inside the mayor's office leaked something chilling, to an online journalist. The FBI was warned about the LLC connection before the Kia Soul was publicly announced. Warned before. That means someone knew there was a link, however indirect, between Mercer's past and the second Kia Soul, and they still pushed the car narrative nationally. Why? To get ahead of it? To control it? Or to bury something bigger? Then came the industry backlash. Former federal agents began speaking out on podcasts. One retired profiler said, "When optics start driving decisions, investigations get compromised." Another added, "If internal politics are influencing public statements, that's dangerous territory." Dangerous territory or deliberate manipulation? And just as Mercer prepared to address the media in what was expected to be a damage control press conference, breaking news hit. The dark SUV from camera 14, it was reportedly captured again, 2 nights after crime, in a parking garage, registered to a name that hasn't been publicly released. But sources claim that name has a direct financial connection to the same law firm behind the Shell LLC. Now, we're not talking about coincidence. We're talking about a web, a tight one, and as Mercer stepped up to the podium, cameras flashing, reporters shouting questions about conflicts, lawsuits, and deleted footage, he looked shaken for the first time. And right before he began speaking, an urgent message was handed to him. His face went pale. He stopped mid-sentence and walked away from the podium. No explanation, no statement, nothing. So what was in that message? What did he just find out? And why did the man who never loses composure suddenly look like everything was about to collapse? The moment Mercer walked away from that podium, the internet exploded like a bomb had gone off in real time. Clips of his pale face were slowed down, zoomed in, analyzed frame by frame. He looks terrified. That's not confusion, that's panic. He just realized he's caught. Within 30 minutes, hashtag Mercer Meltdown overtook hashtag Kia Cover-Up. TikTok creators started stitching the video with dramatic music. One viral clip with 8 million views replayed the exact second he read the message. Zoom, pause, enhance. The caption? That's the face of a man who just lost control of the narrative. And then, something even more dangerous happened. A verified journalist posted, "Hearing from 2 independent sources, an internal ethics review has been triggered regarding Agent Mercer's conduct." Ethics review? That phrase sent shockwaves through law enforcement circles. Former agents began speaking carefully, but critically. One retired FBI supervisor went on a late-night panel and said, "If personal history intersects with active investigations, it must be disclosed. Transparency is not optional." Not optional. Was Mercer transparent? Or did he bury the connection? Meanwhile, Detective Reyes broke her silence. Not in a press conference, not in an interview, but with a single calculated Instagram story. Black background, white text, 3 words. Truth always surfaces. That was it. No tags, no names, but the message was crystal clear. Within minutes, fans began rallying behind her. She tried to warn them. They silenced her. She was right. Even celebrities jumped deeper into the chaos. A major Hollywood actor posted, "If this is real, heads need to roll. Justice isn't a PR game." PR game. That phrase cut deep, because rumors were now circulating that the mayor's office had pressured the FBI to produce visible progress before an upcoming city funding vote. If that's true, was the Kia Soul narrative fast-tracked to calm public fear? Was it designed to show momentum, even if the foundation was unstable? And here's where things turn truly explosive. A late-night anonymous drop hit an investigative forum. A document, allegedly internal, time-stamped 2 days before the Kia Soul was announced publicly. It contained one chilling sentence. Alternative vehicle angle deprioritized due to external sensitivities. External sensitivities? What does that even mean? Political? Personal? Financial? Because if the dark SUV was deprioritized not for lack of evidence, but because of sensitivities, then this isn't incompetence. It's interference. And just when the public thought the scandal had reached its peak, a financial disclosure surfaced. Daniel Mercer's brother-in-law, a junior partner, at the same law firm tied to the Shell LLC. Now ask yourself, is this a coincidence chain or a conflict web? Because if Mercer has a family link to the firm connected to the second Kia Soul, then the distraction wasn't just strategic. It may have been personal. And as calls for suspension grow louder, as independent review boards demand access, as Reyes prepares, reportedly, to release her own evidence, one terrifying question hangs in the air. If the Kia Soul was a distraction, was the real killer protected by someone inside the investigation? And if that's true, what happens when the cover starts to crack? Just when it seemed like the scandal couldn't get any darker, it did. Because late last night, while everyone was arguing about Mercer, the law firm, and the Shell LLC, something far more chilling quietly surfaced. Detective Alina Reyes didn't just post that cryptic message. She had filed a formal internal complaint, and buried inside that complaint, according to a source who claims to have seen it, was one explosive allegation. Critical digital evidence was accessed remotely after being logged into secure storage. Accessed remotely after being secured. Let that sink in. That means someone with high-level clearance allegedly opened, reviewed, and possibly altered evidence tied to the dark SUV days after it was supposed to be locked. Who has that kind of access? Not junior analysts. Not local detectives. Only senior federal personnel. Now here's where it turns nuclear. Timestamps show that the remote access happened at 1:42 a.m., the same night Mercer abruptly left the press podium. Coincidence? Or damage control? Because if someone tampered with the SUV footage after public pressure started mounting, then this isn't about ego anymore. It's obstruction. And then the final bombshell, a data analyst, speaking anonymously, revealed something that flips the entire narrative upside down. The original Kia Soul footage, it may have been miscategorized, not mislabeled, miscategorized, meaning the vehicle flagged as primary suspect car may have been pulled from a completely different time block. In simple terms, the Kia Soul scene circling that night may not have even been there during the crime window. If that's true, then the entire national manhunt was built on the wrong timestamp, the wrong sequence, the wrong story. And while everyone argued about shell companies and family connections, the real timeline was quietly distorted. Now imagine this. The SUV angle buried, the Kia Soul timing questionable, the law firm connected, the family link exposed, the evidence accessed at 1:42 a.m. This isn't a mistake. This feels engineered. But here's the part that will keep you up tonight. Right before this video was recorded, reports surfaced that Daniel Mercer has not appeared at headquarters in 48 hours. Official statement? Personal leave. Unofficial whispers? He's cooperating with an internal review. Or he's preparing for something much bigger. Because when investigators start investigating each other, cases implode, careers end, and secrets surface. The biggest question now isn't who drove the Kia Soul. It's this. Was the car ever meant to lead to the killer? Or was it meant to protect them? And if the protection goes higher than Mercer, if this web stretches beyond one agent, then the real scandal hasn't even begun. Stay with me, because what's coming next could bring down more than just one investigation. It could expose a system. And systems don't collapse quietly. Now I need you to decide, was the Kia Soul just a distraction or a cover-up so shocking it could shake the entire FBI to its core? Comment below with your theory. Who do you really think accessed the evidence at 1:42 a.m.? Don't hold back, because the truth is stranger than fiction. Hit like if you're stunned by how deep this conspiracy goes, subscribe for the next explosive update, and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what insiders say is coming next. The real story is only just beginning, and it's about to get darker.